I'm standing on a hill overlooking the small town of Cochrane, Alberta, Canada. The view is great, serene really, but it's cold, like really cold. And what I do when I'm standing outside and I'm frozen is I go back inside. So without further ado, let's take you on a tour of Hobby War Labs 2016 style. So I figured we'd start off in this area of the room. Over on the right hand side there you can see a Guy Fawkes mask. Thought it was a pretty cool addition to the home, but it kind of comes with an interesting story. I had a guy over here taking away my old desk that I had, and he sees the Guy Fawkes mask and he says, and then he looks at my computers and he says, "I think you're part of Anonymous." And I says, No, I'm not a hacker. That's not what I'm into. I don't know a thing about hacking." And he says, "Well, you got a Guy Fawkes mask, you got computers. 1 + 1 = 2. You know, you're part of Anonymous." And he starts going off about how I could be an ethical hacker and stuff. And so, yeah, we let him go. He took my desk. Yeah. Nice guy otherwise, but thought that was kind of interesting that you'd put a Guy Fawkes mask and computers together and assume that someone's a hacker. Anyways, we'll move on down to there. You can see a few of the passes that I have from different shows I've been to. So CES from 2 different years, and then Mini Maker Faire here in Calgary. Right up there, and we'll zoom in here so you can see better. That's a Crystal Skull vodka. It basically just has my old water cooling in it, and thought it looked cool, so I thought I'd put it there. So this is the gaming computer I use, and I spend a fair amount of relaxation time playing the games. You can see in the center is a 1080 or a 1440p monitor. It's very nice. It requires a lot of horsepower to run to get the graphics cards to generate that image, but it is kind of the sweet spot in high-end gaming. It's just below 4K, and 4K takes an excessive amount of graphics power to generate all those pixels. But I'm running this off of 2 AMD 7970s and an i5 processor. High-end i5 processor, and it is doing quite well. I'm getting about maximum, I would say, 80 frames per second, and then on a minimum somewhere around 9 on a bunch of the games that I play, so it works out quite well. Off to the side there you can see a 19-inch side monitor, great for TeamSpeak and you know, like hardware diagnostics, seeing the temperature of your CPU, GPU, and it's great to kind of have it side by side with your game and see where your hardware bogs down, and it just gives you basically more information about how your hardware is doing. So there's some headphones there, some very good headphones. I thought audio quality was a good thing. Some of those gamer headphones, they just don't have the kind of quality I was looking for, so I eventually moved on to audio headsets, and you know, it's even better than the 5.1 speakers, 5.1 headsets that I used to have. The 5.1 headsets they're almost gimmicky, really. It's trying to sell the idea that you can hear, like, it's kind of like a surround sound system where you can hear something from right front and right back, but I find the audiophile headphones do just the same, and they're just stereo headsets, so it does the same job just as well, and you know, there's no reason to be buying a 5.1 audio headset. So what else? We got a hard drive bay here. It's a NAS. I showed this last year. It's conveniently located next to the bedroom, so if there's a fire, I just pop open this hard drive bay, pull it out, and I get out of there. And it works quite well. You know, it's where I do all my backups. It's definitely a need to have in my situation. So that's pretty nice. That's just an IKEA footrest that I have. It's great for when you come home from work and you haven't had your feet up all day. You've kind of been sitting at a right angle with your knees and you just want to put your feet up and game, and it just does the trick really nicely. Great addition, I love it. So this is a new addition from the last hobbyware.org labs video that I did last year. I got that ugly chest out of there and got an IKEA drawer unit. It's quite well, matches everything else just perfectly, which IKEA is great for. I highly recommend IKEA for your Maker Lab setup. It is just, they're just the best. Let's see what's inside. So on the top drawer, we got all my tools. And these are where I keep my small tools, and probably the biggest tool in here is a hammer. I got some chisels for 3D prints, a file for 3D prints. I got one of these things when I wired up my house for Cat 5 and getting the network around here. And we got some soldering iron, we got Allen keys, we got Dremel parts, and screwdrivers, of course. Probably the most important tool in there is the screwdrivers. Down one level, we got the electronics bin. So we got batteries, which you saw last year. We've got an old switch. We've got a travel. I thought this was pretty cool. I got this for Christmas. It's a travel battery thing, and you just carry it around for when you're out in the woods or something, and you plug in your phone and you got GPS in it if you run out of power. So we got an Arduino box, we got spare wire, a whole bunch of small electronic parts, old batteries. And we'll move on to the next area of the drawer system. And wires. We've got so many wires, it's unbelievable. And I just collect them like nobody's business. So wires, Dremel, bunch of random screws for putting things together. And the last area of the drawer is computer parts. So we got fans, we got power supply connectors, we've got water cooling parts, CDs, manuals, stuff like that. And that's that section. So we'll move on to the next section. This section, my diploma in information technology, and then we'll zoom out and over to the gaming computer. We've got a very mid-range computer in there with an old gaming graphics card that I had lying around. Might as well reuse it from the gaming computer. Asus motherboard, again an old motherboard that I had. Hard drive. So it's a very mid-range computer. It does the job quite well. It handles all my everything I do on hobbyware.org. So my video processing, putting the website together, putting the programs together, the robot, all the software, programming, stuff like that. That's kind of the business computer, I would put it. And then we'll move over here, and those are the monitors that I use. So we've got just a regular 1080p in the middle, and off to the side two other monitors, both 19 inches. They're just old 14 by 3 or 4 by 3 monitors. Work quite well. I actually like them better as side monitors than 2 more 1080p's. It just seems to work well for me. I keep SQL open on one monitor, my programming open on the main monitor, and then internet file browser on the other monitor, and it works out quite well. And yeah, so if we move down over here, this is kind of the workspace. So this is where I put my projects together and stuff. And we'll zoom in a little bit here. Got an old gaming headset with a microphone. It's just a gaming headset, so it came with the microphone, and it works actually quite well. The microphone's fairly decent and gets the job done for videos and stuff, and when I need to record audio and stuff like that. Works quite well. You can also see there is a turret that I'm putting together with I believe an Arduino board, and it basically just kind of rotates and then tilts the barrel up and down, and that's pretty cool. I'll go into more on that on hobbyware.org when it's finished. It's just it's a turret coil gun, so it'll basically shoot little metal pieces and just kind of be a cool toy that I thought I would put together. It's 3D printed, so watch hobbyware.org for that. And then we'll move over here, and you will see a bottle of hairspray over on the right hand side there. So what is the hairspray for? That's a good question. So you'll notice that 3D printer there. That 3D printer used to have some painter's tape on it, and painter's tape is used to hold down your 3D print to the print bed so it doesn't warp and stuff. Well, that always ripped, and it didn't work quite as well as it should have. So after a little googling on the internet, like anything, I found a solution, and it is hairspray. So the hairspray, you just spray a thin layer on your printer bed, and it prints. It attaches your print to your print bed, and just makes your print look that much better and higher quality. So we'll zoom in even further, and we'll move up. That is just a spool of filament, and it is on a spindle, so it just rotates like that. And I got tired of buying MakerBot filament. It's so expensive, and you know, these other filaments out there, they're just so much cheaper, and it's very comparable quality. I can't tell the difference between this and MakerBot filament, so I might as well get the cheap stuff. Thing is, not all the rolls fit in the back of the MakerBot holder. So if I pop this open, the roll of filament won't fit on this. So that's just one of those things. And so I put it in there. I guess you get what you pay for, so you get a cheap roll of filament. It doesn't exactly work as well as it should, but I'll go with the cheap filament anyways. So we'll zoom out again, and that is the 3D printer MakerBot, a very expensive 3D printer. It's really, I might have gotten a cheaper one had I known better at the time. I just assumed MakerBot was the best. And it looks nice, it's very nice, it fits the room very well, but it's very expensive for what a cheaper 3D printer can do just as well. So take your pick. If you like something nice, it works fine for 3D printing. It's not the best, but it works just as well. So take your pick. If you like something fancy, then go for that. If you want something a little cheaper and does it just as well, then you're good to go. So beside the 3D printer is my laptop bag, which contains the laptop for Project 13, which is the robot right beside the laptop bag. And the robot's been sitting there for about a year and hasn't had much work getting done on it. I've finally been able to save up enough money to buy a new laptop for the robot. The laptop I currently have is a little underpowered for what I'm trying to do for the robot, so I kind of needed that to move forward. So I'm finally getting enough money to get this robot back in action, and we'll get it rolling back around and get some more updates to Project 13 in the coming months. So I'm totally looking forward to that. So we'll move on to the next area of the room. So this is the most developed area of the room since you last saw Hobbyware.org Labs. Right here we got the home automation system that I put together. We just got a cheap monitor in the center, a couple of cheap speakers, and a really nice microphone. That microphone is kind of picks up the whole house almost. As long as you got a direct line of sight to the mic, it works very well. And it picks up my voice commands, and I tell the lights to turn off and on and shut down my computers and set reminders, stuff like that. And so I kind of put that area of the nook that this is sitting in together last year. Sitting under there is a Dell computer that I got off work. They were giving it away. It was old, so I thought I would take it. And being the IT person that I am, and the person who is giving it away, I took it myself. So it's quite nice, and it does the job nicely. It'll also serve as a IPv6 server in the future if I finally get around to putting together an IPv6 project. So that's pretty cool. And then we move up here, and this is the bookshelf. It's just all my books, but we'll move into the interesting part here. So this is the computer section of the bookshelf. It's quite small, but it contains lots of information. The only problem is the majority of it is old and outdated. Books are kind of going the way of the dodo. But there are a few books I still use up there. So Zencart I have used recently. And there's some hacking books, some programming, Robotics Studio. Too bad about Robotics Studio. Had lots of potential in there. I just don't think anybody got involved with it, and it just died. Turns out it's better to program it in C# and write your own code than it is to use Robotics Studio. I actually found Robotics Studio quite hard to use, despite it supposed to be pretty easy. So I guess the newest book. Let's show you the newest book. So the newest book is Exploring Neural Networks with C#. And totally loving this book. It's great. It's like exactly what I need, because I'm a C# kind of guy and I need neural networks for Project 13, and I thought, what a great book. Expensive. It's a textbook. I read textbooks. Isn't that weird? Anyways, that's a good book. That's the newest addition to the shelf. We got Old Computer Security from when I was in college there. Hacking Art of Exploitation. Great book, still very relevant today. Describes the very basics of exploitation. I am not a hacker. I got this book when I thought hacking would be a cool thing to get into, and it is still interesting, still relevant. And we got other hacking books like Hacking Exposed. All old books. Don't really read them anymore. It's kind of actually fun to go through this one, because when I first started out with this book, I got through the first 2 or 3 chapters understanding what was going on, and then I just kind of lost it. But going through an old book and then seeing how much you've improved as time's gone by, and I could probably read that front to back and understand everything they're talking about. It's really interesting to keep your books around and then go back through them after a while and see how you've progressed. And then a parallax robotics with the Bobot. So what is the Bobot? Well, let's show you. That is the Bobot. That is the first robotics project I ever put together. Great teaching robot. Get you started in robotics, figure out how it all works, get you involved in the programming. Available from Parallax. You can download my project files for what I developed on there at hobbyware.org in the project section. And that concludes Hobbyware Labs.
Thanks for taking the tour with me of my lab setup. Despite the cold weather, standing up here is nothing short of breathtaking. And so I thought I'd leave this video with a short panorama of the Cochrane town site.